Some jobs you don't find on LinkedIn. Some jobs find you. When you're at your lowest, broke, alone, desperate, the dark web doesn't just offer you work. It offers you an escape. But what if that escape leads you somewhere you were never meant to go? Tonight, you're about to witness a story that begins with a mysterious ad online and ends in a forest where the dead never really disappear. This is not just a story. This is a confession. Welcome to the Dark Web Files. My name is Darren Johnson. I'm 28 now. But honestly, I feel older. Like life's been draining me since I was a kid, and somewhere along the way I stopped noticing. I grew up in South London. Not the dangerous part. Not the rich part either. Just that gray middle where nothing exciting ever happens. Where the houses are small, the skies always look overcast, and the only thing colder than the air is how people treat each other. My parents were those exist in the same room kind of people. Never cruel, but never warm either. No bedtime stories. No, I'm proud of you. Just routines. Meals on the table. Doors that shut without a word. And silence. So much silence. By the time I turned 16, I already knew I needed to get out. I didn't know where or how, but I knew staying in that house any longer would make me feel invisible for the rest of my life. So I left at 18. I moved in with my girlfriend at the time, Rachel. She was 3 years older, had her own place, and worked as a receptionist in a dentist's office. We met when I was still in sixth form. She was one of those women who looked at you like she already knew what you were going to say. I loved that about her. At first, life felt like a dream. I got a job bartending at Inferno's nightclub in Clapham. It wasn't glamorous. Long nights, drunk fights, sticky floors. But it paid well enough for now. Rachel and I were the typical young couple. Cuddles on the couch. Midnight takeouts. Binge-watching crime shows. She was my escape. My anchor. The one person in the world who saw me. But the thing about working night shifts is, it ruins you slowly. You stop seeing daylight. You sleep when the world is awake. You miss birthdays, brunches, Sunday walks. I'd get home at 4 or 5 a.m., crash onto the couch, and wake up to find Rachel already gone for work. By the time she got back, I was getting ready to leave again. We became ships passing in the night. Smiling but never docking. At first, we joked about it. "Miss you already," she'd whisper before leaving. "Save me some pasta," I'd text her from behind the bar. But over time, the text stopped. The notes on the fridge disappeared, and our smiles faded into short nods and yawns. We started arguing over little things. Who left the milk out? Why the bin was still full? Why I wasn't trying harder? I didn't have the energy to fight. I didn't even know what we were fighting for anymore. And then it happened. A Wednesday night. Just like any other. Until the power went out at the club. It was only 11:30 p.m., way too early. But the manager told everyone to pack up and head home. Said it might take hours to fix. I remember thinking, finally, I'd get to go home at a normal time. Surprise Rachel. Maybe even talk. Something. I picked up a box of chocolates from the 24-hour Tesco on the way home. But I was desperate for something to feel normal again. As the taxi turned into our street, I felt my stomach drop. There was a silver BMW in the driveway. Not hers. Not mine. It had tinted windows and spotless paint, the kind of car that screams money. I got out of the taxi slowly. The night air was cold. Too cold for spring. I stood in front of the house for a full minute, just staring at the car. Maybe it was a friend? Maybe her cousin? Maybe. I knew. I knew before I opened the door. The hallway was dark. Quiet. I walked in slowly. Shoes on. Didn't even care. I could hear something faint. Muffled laughter. A man's voice. Then hers. I walked down the hall like I was floating. Like my body wasn't mine anymore. The bedroom door was half open. The TV was on. And there they were. Rachel. Naked. Curled against some guy I'd never seen before. Muscular. Confident. Like he belonged there. She looked up. Saw me. And didn't even flinch. No scream. No shock. No shame. Just silence. Like I was the intruder. I didn't say anything. Didn't cry. Didn't throw the chocolates. I just turned around. Walked out the front door. And kept walking. My legs carried me down 2 blocks before I realized I had nowhere to go. I checked into a nearby motel that smelled like bleach and piss. Paid cash. The man behind the desk didn't even ask for my name. I lay on the stained mattress staring at the ceiling, holding the unopened box of chocolates like a complete idiot. That night, something inside me cracked. Not snapped. Cracked. Quietly. Like glass under pressure. The next morning, I went back to the house. She didn't say a word when I came in. Just watched me as I packed my things. No apology. No explanation. No tears. Just her silence. Like always. I left everything behind, except a duffel bag and my burner laptop. That night, I called the only person who ever truly felt like family. Timmy. My childhood friend. He moved to Birmingham a year ago for work. We hadn't spoken in a while, but when I called, he picked up on the first ring. Dude. Come here, he said before I could even finish explaining. Stay as long as you need. I took the train the next morning, and Jamie picked me up at the station like nothing had changed. We ate cheap pizza that night. Watched reruns. Laughed a bit. I felt human again. But by day 4, the weight came back. I couldn't live off Jamie's kindness forever. So I started job hunting. Submitted applications to everything. Tesco, Amazon warehouses, delivery apps, pubs. Even temp cleaning gigs. Nothing. Not one reply. It was like the world had already decided I wasn't needed. Then came the night everything changed. I couldn't sleep. The silence in Jamie's flat was too loud. My thoughts were echoing like screams. So I opened Reddit, just scrolling. And there it was. A thread on r/off-the-grid titled, "The dark web isn't what you think. It's where the real jobs are." Curious, I clicked. People were talking about all kinds of illegal things. Selling data. Forging passports. Laundering cash. One comment hit me like a punch to the chest. I cleaned up bodies for 8 months. $10,000 per job. Morally gone. Financially free. You choose what matters more. I couldn't stop reading. I read every reply. Every warning. Every guide. I downloaded Tor. Got a VPN. Burned a browser trail. My hands were shaking. But I felt alive again. I opened one of the darker job boards. Most of it was nonsense. Fake hitman ads, stolen credit card scams, fake listings. But one post stood out. Plain, quiet, almost polite. Seeking assistant. Help with body disposal. High pay. Low risk. No experience required. There was a number at the bottom. Just a number. No name. No details. No warnings. I stared at it for a long time. Then copied it to my burner. My heart was racing so fast, I could hear it in my ears. But I waited. I told myself I'd sleep on it. But I didn't sleep. At 2:14 a.m. I tapped call. It rang once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. I sighed. Figured it was fake. Or a setup. Then at 4:32 a.m., my phone buzzed. A known number. I picked up. A deep voice. Confident. Hey, you must have seen the ad. You interested? I didn't answer immediately. He continued. Meet me tomorrow. Address is being sent now. Be alone. Don't be followed. The line went dead. And a few seconds later, I got a message. Just an address. An empty road. Near a forest outside Birmingham. No explanation. No name. No emoji. Just coordinates. I stared at the message for a long time. Then whispered to myself, "What the hell are you doing?" My eyes didn't shut for a second that night. The sound of cars on the street, the occasional hum of the fridge, the creak of pipes, everything was louder. Everything felt like a warning. But I didn't back out. Not this time. By 6 a.m., I was dressed and ready, pacing the room like a soldier about to enter a war he never trained for. Jamie was asleep in the next room. I left a note. Out for a job interview. Don't worry. A lie, but I figured the truth would sound a hell of a lot worse. I booked a taxi using a fake name and prepaid card. The driver didn't ask questions. Just looked at the address, raised an eyebrow, and drove. We left the city behind quickly. The concrete turned to dirt. The buildings disappeared. Trees swallowed the road like a mouth slowly closing. Fog rolled in around the tires like we were crossing into somewhere we weren't meant to be. When we reached the destination, a dead-end gravel path leading to nothing but dense forest, the driver stopped and looked at me through the rear view. "You sure?" he asked, finally breaking the silence. I nodded. "All right, mate. Don't say I didn't warn ya." I watched the taillights fade until the darkness took them. Then I turned to the right side of the road, where a line of red handkerchiefs was tied to tree branches, just like the message said. I stood there for a full minute, just thinking. Then I took the first step. The woods were quiet. Too quiet. No birds. No wind. Just the crunch of my shoes and the thud of my heart. Every few trees, another red cloth flapped gently like a warning signal. Like blood waving at me. After about 20 minutes, the trees began to thin. And then I saw it. A warehouse. Silent. Too clean. It sat in a clearing like it had been dropped from the sky, no road leading to it, no sign it belonged to anyone. A man stood out front. Jeans. Hoodie. Gloves. He looked ordinary. That was the strangest part. He could have been my barista. My old classmate. The guy who bags groceries at Sainsbury's. He waved me over. "You made it." His voice was calm. Controlled. Like he'd done this 100 times. He held out a hand. We shook. "I'm the guy who posted the ad. You can call me T." I opened my mouth. "No names," he interrupted. "From now on you're D. That's it." He didn't wait for a response. Just turned and walked toward the door. I followed. Inside, the place looked like a horror film set designed by someone who studied science instead of cinema. Bright white lights. Industrial tubs. Steel tables. Shelves with unmarked bottles in rainbow colors. "This," he said, motioning to a tub filled with liquid, "is where the work begins." Floating in the tub was a body. Still human. I didn't flinch. I don't know why. Maybe I had already broken. Maybe seeing Rachel with someone else had killed the last of my fear. T noticed. "But you won't last long in this job if you panic." He walked over to the shelf and grabbed 3 bottles, red, green, yellow, and poured them into the tub one at a time. The liquid bubbled. The skin on the body began to soften. "Acid mix," he said. "Custom. Breaks down everything but bone in 2 hours. You'll learn." Then he pointed to the second tub. Another body. This one was my last partner. Got sloppy. Made noise. I stared at the corpse. A man, maybe in his 30s. His mouth was still half open, like he died mid-scream. I didn't ask questions. I walked over to the shelf, grabbed the same colors, and mimicked what T did. The next few hours were surreal. We dissolved 2 bodies. Scrub tubs. Burn bones. He showed me how to grind the remains into powder, how to pour them into barrels, how to make it look like they never existed. Then he took me to a river. Remote. Hidden. We dumped the powder into the water. "That's the ritual," he said. "Job's not done until the river runs with ghosts." We stood there, watching the black dust vanish into the current. No words. Just the sound of water, and the faint crackle of fire from the barrel behind us. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. I don't know what that says about me, but I do know this. The next time he called, I didn't hesitate. We were a team now. And the bodies kept coming. Every job became easier. We barely spoke unless necessary. He taught me how to identify gang tattoos, how to notice ligature marks and old wounds that could hint at who had done what. It wasn't just body disposal. It was silent, forensic storytelling. Sometimes the drop-offs would come with notes, or cash wrapped in plastic. Sometimes the bodies were fresher than they should be. Once, a body was still twitching. I wanted to stop then, but I didn't. Instead, I asked T if he knew where they came from. He shook his head. We don't ask. We erase. I thought of Rachel, of my parents, of how easy it was to disappear. And suddenly, this warehouse didn't feel like a job. It felt like a weapon. A month passed. I stopped shaking after jobs. I stopped thinking about right or wrong. And that's when the girl arrived. She was young, blonde. Her face, her eyes, looked like they were mid-scream. But she wasn't a stranger. She was in a photo I had seen in Jamie's drawer. Her cousin. This wasn't just a job. This was a message. That night I didn't go home. I couldn't. I wandered. Through backstreets, empty lots, past pubs just closing their doors. My legs moved on their own, like they were trying to outrun the thought that had started to fester. Jamie's cousin. The girl in the tub. This wasn't random. This was connected. To Jamie. To me. I was being watched, or worse, By morning, I made a decision. One that would either end this nightmare or drown me deeper in it. I went back to the warehouse early. T wasn't there yet. The place was quiet, almost too quiet. I moved like a shadow, heart thudding in my chest, ears straining for any sound. I needed evidence, anything. Something to prove this wasn't just a job. Something to prove that T wasn't who he claimed to be. I remembered the locked filing cabinet he always guarded. Top drawer, left side. A crowbar from the utility room did the trick. Inside, folders. Dozens. Memes. Photos. Locations. Jamie's name. Next to hers, witness. Monitored. Future asset. My hands shook as I pulled more files. My name. Asset. Recruited. Monitored via third-party network. My ex's name. Executed. My parents. Executed. Compliance enforcement. I felt sick. Rage filled my throat like bile. This wasn't a disposal job. This was a system. A web. And I was caught in it. The door creaked open. He walked in, casual as ever. A grocery bag in one hand. He saw the open drawer. He paused. I was hoping we wouldn't get here, he said, setting the bag down. You killed them, I spat. He nodded, slowly. I didn't pull the trigger. But I kept the wheels turning. Why me? He sighed. You were perfect. Detached. Broken. Smart. We needed someone to replace me. I'm retiring, D. And you were doing so well. I stared at him. You think I'd take your place? You already have. I saw his hand twitch near his belt. A gun? I lunged first. The fight wasn't cinematic. It was messy. Screaming. Metal crashing. Blood. At one point he had me in a chokehold, but I elbowed him hard and scrambled back. I reached the acid shelf. Grabbed the red bottle. Threw it. It shattered on his face. He screamed, an inhuman howl, and dropped to the floor, writhing. I didn't watch him die. I ran. Grabbed the folders. The cash. The keys. Set the warehouse on fire. From a hill above, I watched the place burn. No more tubs. No more barrels. No more river. I disappeared. Changed my name. Burned the folders. But not before I scanned them and sent copies to encrypted Dropbox. Just in case. Sometimes I still hear the crackle of that fire. Sometimes I dream of red handkerchiefs swaying in the trees. But mostly I sleep. For the first time in months. I sleep. Until one day, a burner phone I thought I destroyed rang. A distorted voice said, "We need a cleaner." And just like that, the river calls again. If this story kept you on edge, imagine what the next one will do. We don't just tell horror, we dig it out from the shadows. Subscribe to Athex Tales and join the ones who never sleep again. Because here, the nightmares are just getting started.